Going on, guys? Long time no see. Um, Not an MLB video, thank God. We were kind of playing that sparingly, just to get some action. Just hopefully we were gonna get a little hot, just to have more money in our bankrolls for NFL season. We kind of just stopped posting that content just because at that point we were just getting really cold, and we were like, might as well just save money for NFL. It's finally that time of the year. I'm so excited for my Bears. I know Funk is excited about his Bengals. Let's just jump into it. I'm so excited for this. Let me bring this up. So right now, the top stacks for Fanduel: Chargers, Vikings, Seahawks, Cincinnati Bengals, Ravens, Jacksonville, Tampa, Indy. We'll just do this here. I have a couple honorable mentions I wrote down just in case anyone likes that. So the Chargers, Miami doesn't have Jalen Ramsey. This game total is 50 and a half. Either side is really good. On Miami, you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua is back. So definitely some good pieces there. On the Charger side, you got Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are healthy. Hopefully that stays well this year so then they can actually be productive. Minnesota as a number two stack against Tampa. Truth be told, I like both sides of this game in terms of stacks. Both these secondaries are pretty bad. Um, Last year, Minnesota was like pretty much dead last in the secondary. Both sides are very good. The thing with Tampa that's interesting is seeing how Baker actually performs, with Godwin and Mike Evans there. Minnesota, you have Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, the rookie that they drafted. TJ Hawkinson just signed a big extension, so don't mind that at all. Seahawks against the Rams looks interesting. Geno Smith is back at it with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Definitely an interesting spot there. Cincinnati Bengals playing against the Cleveland Browns looks good. Playing the narrative card here of Joe Burrow signing I think it's like the biggest NFL contract in history. He's got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Definitely a good spot to look into. Baltimore is a little interesting. The reason why I'm not so big onto Baltimore is I believe they are 9.5 favorites right now against Houston. Houston is just a big question mark just because they drafted CJ Stroud, and I don't really know their pieces besides like Tank Dell, who had a good preseason, and Robert Woods and Dalton Schultz is what he's working with. So I don't know. Baltimore 9.5 point favorites. It can just turn ugly for Houston, and you're not getting the full game. You know what I mean? So Baltimore is very interesting, but they're going to be pretty chalk. I know Lamar Jackson's going to be the chalkiest quarterback. Jacksonville Jaguars against the Colts is interesting. They added Calvin Ridley. Um, Trevor Lawrence is obviously good. Travis Etienne's bound to have a big year. So Jacksonville in general, I like a lot. Um, you got a 7% top stack percentage, decent average salary. I mean, this is just going to be good. I think it was last season, maybe even the season prior, where the Jaguars' kryptonite was a Colts. Take that with a grain of salt and take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's week one. A lot of these teams are going to be sloppy at first and then they'll pick it up. But some honorable mentions, I said sorry, Tampa. Tampa's interesting, kind of like I was saying, just with Baker leading the way with Godwin and Evans. Minnesota, not really an honorable mention. The Commanders against Arizona. Arizona, they're probably tanking and going to get Caleb Williams. So I kind of like Washington here. Curtis Samuel. I believe Terry McLaurin is playing. claims he's gonna play, but that doesn't really mean he is gonna play. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, they're being led by Sam Howell. I'm assuming if you're a Commanders fan watching this, you're probably pretty pumped. Definitely can get some good leverage there. So I don't really mind that. That's kind of like a tournament play, probably something you wouldn't fully stack, but focus on Baltimore and up here, maybe mix in a couple Tampa and Jacksonville. San Fran, I kind of like. Denver, sort of, not really. It kind of just depends on how Russell Wilson does under the Sean Payton scheme. Indianapolis, I'm not too much on just because Anthony Richardson's a rookie. Um, Cleveland is interesting a little bit with Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson. I don't really like much else besides, Nick Chubb, but Cleveland would be more interesting if we had the Houston Texans Deshaun Watson, but that's not what we had last season because he was suspended. I believe he was suspended most of last year. I'm in week one mode. I can't really remember, but yeah, definitely some good spots. It also, I believe I mentioned this earlier too. The Chargers Miami game over under is 50 and a half. Miami only getting like a 5% top stack percentage. That makes sense. 3% value, which is good. So that's definitely a good option to get to with Tua. If you end up wanting to play Tua, mix in Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, definitely some interesting spots there. Raheem Mostert is going to get majority of the carries as well because Jeff Wilson's on the IL, I believe, and they're going to have I can't remember his name, but they have a rookie backing up Mostert, so Mostert's going to see a lot of playing time. So let's just move on to position by position. Projections. I was actually trying to record this earlier and I accidentally did DraftKings pricings. But let's just start with QBs. And I'm going to reiterate this again. It's week one. A lot of these guys are going to play sloppy at first. Don't go too crazy with your lineups, even though I probably will, and I know Funk will absolutely. So right now you got Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Richardson, Lawrence, Watson, Tua. So I'll keep this here so you guys can see pretty much everybody. But we're just going to go in order a little bit, and then I'll give out a couple honorable mentions. Lamar Jackson, he's got the rushing upside projected for 22.9 fantasy points. Kind of like I was saying a little earlier, it's going to be tricky. He's clearly going to be your cash quarterback if you're playing cash lineups, the 50-50s and whatever. It's just a 9.5 point spread on a Houston team that's got a lot of question marks. CJ Stroud is, who knows, he might be really good in the future. Maybe he has a down year. Maybe they shock everyone, they cover the spread. But Lamar having Mark Andrews, who's listed questionable right now, who knows if he plays? He has Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman. It's got the rushing upside. So that's pretty much why Lamar Jackson is the clear cut favorite on the slate. Kind of went over this already. Justin Herbert, 21.63 fantasy point projection, playing Miami. No Jalen Hurt, or excuse me, no Jalen Ramsey. He's got Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, Austin Eckler, who isn't just a rushing quarterback, he does it all. This is a great spot. Truth be told, I believe Herbert and Burrow are like my top two favorite guys. So Joe Burrow, 20, projected for 20 fantasy points, playing against Cleveland. What's kind of nice is he's 7,900. Cleveland, truth be told, I don't really know much about Cleveland's secondary as much, but it's Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They're projected to be very good Super Bowl contending team, so that tells you enough. Jalen Hurts projected for 19.99 fantasy points against New England. He's the most expensive quarterback on the slate. Kind of the same as Lamar Jackson in terms of rushing upside. I believe the spread is 3.5 or 4.5 for the Eagles. So it should be a closer game. I like Jalen Hurts, but you can definitely have better options and get to Herbert, Joe Burrow, save like $100 and go with Lamar Jackson. Justin Fields 19.55 fantasy points against Green Bay at 8,300. So little biased because I'm a Bears fan. Vibes are high as a Bears fan. He has a rushing upside. He actually has some targets with DJ Moore. He got a full off season with Chase Claypool. Darnell Mooney came back and he looks pretty big now. He hit the weight room really good over the off season. Khalil Herbert's in the background. And last year, as a Bears fan, you kind of knew that Herbert was because we had Montgomery. I don't know if he can catch the ball in the backfield, but Fields now has some options. So that's definitely interesting there. I wouldn't prioritize Fields that much, but the 8,300 price tag looks very interesting. Geno Smith looks pretty intriguing against a Rams secondary that, I think just in general, the Rams aren't going to be that good. We saw Geno Smith last year do pretty well, um, kind of reviving his career. I believe they are a 4.5. Yeah, I believe it's a 4.5 or 5 point favorites. I'm taking that. So, and Geno Smith likes to throw the ball deep downfield. He's got Lockett, he's got Metcalf, he got Kenneth Walker in the backfield, so that'll be good. Kirk Cousins at 7,500 is interesting. Um, I'm playing against a weak secondary in Minnesota or of Tampa Bay. I think it'd be very interesting, and especially since it's 7,500 and he's got Justin Jefferson, who's arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Jordan Addison, who a lot of people are high on. Kirk Cousins is pretty interesting there. Honorable mentions, I have Deshaun Watson, Tua. That's pretty much it. I'm not getting to Sam Howell, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett. I'm not really getting to any of those guys. Watson at 7,400 is a little interesting, but since he's got some decent secondary options, the only other reason why I like Tua is because he's got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It should be a shootout according to the over under at 50.5. So if you don't like any of these like top guys, look into Tua a little bit. That's just my opinion. So let's go to running backs. I gotta flip my notebook over. So right now it's got Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, Bijan, Jacobs, Madison, Etienne, Walker, Akers. So Austin Eckler, clear cut number one right now against Miami. He can do everything, catch the ball, run. He's usually bound to score a touchdown. If he doesn't score, he gets a lot of receiving and rushing yards. Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry. You know, Ryan Tannehill is just like an average quarterback at best. So he just hands the ball to wow, hands the ball to Derrick Henry a lot. Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler are kind of the same person. They can catch the ball, run the ball. They do a lot for their team. So I Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good. So I think it might be a tougher matchup for McCaffrey. If I had to choose between the two, I'd go Eckler. But I mean, McCaffrey is good too. Nick Chubb against Cincy, if he can run the ball well, get a lot of handoffs. If Stefanski actually wants to run the ball, Chubb is a great option. Bijan Robinson against Carolina looks good. My thing is, he's a rookie. Who knows if he's going to be the starter? I know that sounds a little crazy. I don't know. I don't really watch college football. I know he was really good. I mean, and I mean, it's Atlanta. They had Algier last year. They're not really playing for much. They know they're going to be bad, so they might as well put Bijan in. And especially like if you've done fantasy football drafts, I've done a lot of underdog best ball lineups. I have a good amount of Bijan actually. So Josh Jacobs looks interesting against Denver. He signed like a 1 year deal. If you don't know, there was a bunch of issues with the running back market. And there was like a Zoom call with the running backs on how to fix this problem. Jacob signed like a 1 year deal. So he's going to be getting a lot of touches. He's going to be involved a lot. So I expect Jacobs to do good this year. It's Denver. You don't really know what to expect from them just because it's Sean Payton leading the team. I truthfully don't know. Alexander Madison should be getting a lot of touches in this game as well. Um, Not a priority, but a good area to look into. Etienne looks good against Indianapolis. Same thing with Kenneth Walker, Cam Akers. I feel like we always fall into this Cam Akers thing where he's hyped up, he's going to be super good, and then he's average at best, or he gets injured, something like that. Ramondre Stevenson is questionable right now. Take what you want from that. I believe he's sick, so it kind of just depends. It's probably going to be a game time decision if he wakes up and he feels good enough. I already know if Stevenson is ruled out, Ezekiel Elliott's probably going to get majority of the touches, so he will definitely be 70% owned in cash, but keep an eye on that. Joe Mixon looks good. Jamal Williams looks good in terms of Alvin Kamara suspended. So J.K. Dobbins, sure. I'll just scroll down the list a little bit and you guys can see what else. Miles Sanders is projected to be very good this year, along with Rashad White, James Conner. He's probably just going to get a bunch of handoffs. Najee Harris, I guess. But okay, let's move on to wide receivers. So right now it's got Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Keenan Allen, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Tyler Lockett. So I'm going to go through the top five here and then honorable mentions, some other pieces that I like. Clear cut favorite, it makes sense. Tyreek Hill, shootout game. I'm not going to really go into detail. Justin Jefferson against Tampa's weak secondary. It's Justin Jefferson. You know, he won number one in your fantasy football drafts this year. Jamar Chase, you know, against Cleveland, Jamar Chase and Jefferson are like on the same level. Either one of those guys are good. If I had to lean on one, if you know, to choose just one of them, I would definitely go Jefferson, but Chase is not a bad option. Plus, he's $1,000 cheaper, so you can save a little bit of salary there and go to running back, tight end, whatever. Keenan Allen, if you pair him with Justin Herbert, great option, along with Mike Williams down here. Both these guys are great options. I keep saying the same thing over and over again. This game's going to be a shootout. There's going to be a lot of passing. You know, knock on wood, it's a good game, but target almost every one of those guys if you're playing multiple lineups. Chris Olave with Derek Carr as his quarterback, he's poised to have a big year. Every TikTok that I've seen, Twitter video, you know, Instagram reel, a lot of people are very high on Olave, and I see it. Excuse me. You're not going to go over Jalen Waddle. Kind of like I said, you know, it's a shootout game. Target that if you have multiple lineups. Devontae Adams with Jimmy Garoppolo is interesting. Again, kind of like I know Certain kind of came out and said, like, who's Devontae Adams? Like, someone asked him, like, how do you feel about guarding Devontae Adams? And he said, who? So take that however which way you want. That should be interesting. He's going to get some targets. It's just a matter of if he can make these catches, if he can create space, maybe score a touchdown or just get a bunch of yards. T. Higgins, you know, number two behind Jamar Chase should be good. Tyler Lockett's against a weak Rams secondary looks good. Godwin looks good. Same thing as Lockett, weak secondary. AJ Brown, clear cut number one for Philly. He's going to get the ball a lot. Calvin Ridley, I kind of like against Indianapolis. Um, it's his first game back since the whole gambling thing, so he should be good. I'm just going to scroll down and have you guys take a look at these projections, maybe see if there's anything other that I like. Stochastic article said fade Hopkins, whatever. Um, and obviously here are the salaries. Pickens, eh. Terry McLaurin if he starts 6,900. Juju, I don't think Mac Jones is any good. He's just average at best. Jordan Addison is 5,500 against Tampa, with Kirk Cousins. He's probably, I would say, though, if you take away TJ Hawkinson, he's the third receiver on that team, but he's him, KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson. He's going to be in that mix. He'll definitely get some targets. Amari Cooper will definitely see some action his way. Christian Kirk kind of went under the radar last year. I think he's going to have another big year. Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, they do a lot for San Francisco. I really like them. I haven't seen anything on Judy if he's playing, but I like him as well. If Anthony Richardson is as hyped as he's projected out to be, Pittman's good. Yeah, there's definitely some good options. The one thing I like about this, obviously, too, it has a salary on the side, so you can see, Michael Thomas, if he's going to be any good this year, if he's not injured with a turf toe or whatever, 6,000. So definitely some interesting pieces to get to here. All right, let's wrap this up with tight ends, and then I'm gonna give a couple anytime touchdown props that I'm liking. So for tight ends, gotta flip this over. So Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Dalton Schultz, Tyler Higbee. Um, sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry, I thought I screwed something up. So let's restart that. Mark Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Schultz, Goddard, Higbee, Freiermuth, Ingram, Njoku, Pitts, Everett. Truth be told, I would only Evan Ingram and up. I would kind of consider Mark Andrews and George Kittle are both questionable. Want to make sure that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Andrews is questionable. Kind of the same thing I said with Lamar. It's going to be a blowout of a game. If what we're thinking is going to happen, he might not get many receptions unless maybe he just scores a touchdown with maybe, 40, 50 receiving yards, if that. Hawkinson is Hawkinson's good. He just signed like a big deal, week Tampa Bay defense. He should get a lot of targets. George Kittle, questionable. I believe it's like a groin strain or something. He's been limited and barely practicing a lot. If he plays, I like him just because he's 6,600 compared to 7,200 Hawkinson and 8,000 Andrews, so you can save some salary there. Schultz, I'm kind of liking just because Schultz is, he's projected for 8 fantasy points. I wrote down some of the projected ownership. He's projected for 6%. The thing that I think of is CJ Stroud is he's a rookie quarterback. He might be relying on Schultz a lot. I know that sounds a little weird, but I think sometimes like these rookie quarterbacks have to get into a groove and, hit the tight ends a little bit. Because a tight end, unless your name's Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, you're not running 30, 40, 50 plus yards up the field expecting a pass to be thrown your way. So he's a guy that can definitely get a lot of receptions and build up on yards. Goddard 6'4" against New England. Yes, I like him. Tyler Higbee, um, he's only getting 8% right now, but I do think that number is going to go up a little bit. I don't really know. The thing with Higbee is Cooper Kupp just went on the IR. So he's out for at least the first 4 games, and he's 5,300. So maybe Stafford will give him some targets. Freiermuth against San Fran, I really don't like that much, but Freiermuth is only getting 4% right now. Kenny Pickett might have to rely on him a little bit. I don't know. Ingram just signed a big contract to stay with Jacksonville. He was surprisingly good last year. I knew he was okay, but he stepped up pretty well for Jacksonville last year. I don't mind that at all against Indy, and he's 5,800. Gerald Everett looks okay against Miami, but you know, he might not see a lot of targets just because of having Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but regardless, he's good at 5,500. Njoku looks good as well. I'm probably not prioritizing him. Kind of hoping Kyle Pitts is actually good this year, 6,000. We posted a price pick 6-legger in our Discord, which I'll link in the description. But Kyle Pitts, I believe he was like the highest drafted tight end in NFL history. Hopefully, Desmond Ritter can hit him, get him some receptions. Um, I would just focus on Pitts, Ingram, and up. Pitts is 6,000, but then you can get to Ingram at 58, Freiermuth at 57, Higbee at 53 with no Cooper Kupp on that side. So that kind of makes him a little bit more intriguing. But yeah, nothing too much besides maybe, Hawkinson's probably going to be the chalkiest guy. If Andrews is out, Isaiah likely is going to get a lot of the snaps. So there's not much else there. So for my anytime touchdown scores, I'm gonna go with Tyreek Hill, Justin Fields, and I gotta remember my third one. I texted it to Funk, but I really don't remember, truth be told. Devontae Adams. So I'm gonna go with Justin Fields to score a touchdown, Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams. So that should just about do it. If there's any questions, just throw them in the comments. I'm gonna throw in the Discord so you guys can just join there. You can be in constant contact with us, share your lineups and we'll give you our 2 cents and just like and subscribe.